watch this. I want to apologize to all of them because I know this was embarrassing for all of them.
Unity, says the Dame. An apology is heard in Harlem. Point of no return, says Cam. Cat, the internet says. We are stress testing the olive branch tonight. Next to the laugh track, place Dame's plea for peace. Next, arrange the receipts in a stack. The apology reads like leadership if the documentation and the boundaries are in agreement. Otherwise, it reads as wisdom disguised as submission. Continue to observe. The quotes and the contracts will speak for themselves.
All of them because I know this was embarrassing for all of them. And I can't be violent and I won't be violent. My job is to keep them out of jail. So the only way I can deal with things is keep certain things out of the algorithm. It's to answer as soon as somebody says something. If y'all want to sit down and work it out and maybe do a TV show together, just showing the world that we can work together.
Dame isn't standing on a podium launching shots. He sounds like an elder in a boardroom. He begins by saying the silent part. Harlem finds it embarrassing. This presents the dispute as a brand issue. Fantastic IP, terrible visuals. It's a specific offer. Give the algorithm a break. Take a break from filming and return with a product that demonstrates that Black unity is more powerful than small-time snippets. The danger is clear. Jokes that include apologies are more common than contracts. The reason this is hard to believe is explained in the second clip. The olive branch is interpreted as a retreat if supporters believe the reports. It reads as leadership if they accept receipts. Dame's fixes to move the proof to the deliverables rather than the comments. Clear lanes on what would be needed for any compensated spin-off. Underline rights, life rights, brand, likeness, soundtrack, and the true owner of the keys. He needs signatures, not catchphrases, a time frame, a clearance map, and a neutral EP attached if he is to regain Harlem's trust. However, each sentence of patience is a competition with another person's joke. The culture assigns code grades. Avoid bringing relatives inside. Don't make the borough look bad. Avoid using personal suffering for public gain. Those anxieties are the focus of Dame's message. Nevertheless, until the text states otherwise, unity is interpreted as weakness if Cam continues to refer to the point of no return, and if O continues to sell confidence like a trailer. A quick test concludes the chapter. Is it possible for Dame to turn Harlem's humiliation into a written prophet?
No return. This was totally unnecessary. The way it went about for me, you keep going on the internet looking for internet sympathy.
It don't matter if you win or lose. Swing on them. That's my hitter. I feel I could beat them with a little lesbian, white girl. I just want to see if we can do it for fun. Let's go battle Cam and 50 because 50 stepped into the cup.
The olive branch was blocked by 2 blocks. First, brick. Cam's limits. He isn't arguing about papers. According to him, trust is extinct. He is converting the joke into policy when he declares it a point of no return. Friendly at best, no collaborations. The second brick, the economy of trolling, a sample of the Dame's own bluster. Cams are the timeline's jet fuel, and we can beat. It turns every apology into a pivot rather than a tenet. How can one combat laughter with paper and time? The joke becomes costly after clearances and right grids are taken into consideration if Dame's flex is only momentum. The joke switches to leverage if the flex is supported by assignments, options, or a genuine shopping deal. Contracts by themselves, however, won't move Cam's boundaries. That requires a code fix. No more references to family, no more recycling of rumors, no more ammunition. The receipts are then stacked. The following chapter discusses whether Dame's cap call is still valid and what owning paid in full really implies, versus how it sounds.
Paid in full? Like, how did 50 Cent acquire ownership of paid in full?
Do you remember when 50 Cent was supposed to be putting out a documentary about Puff on Netflix?
Yes.
Where is it?
This is where the paperwork and the apology clash. The word owns is repeated by the audience.
That word, however, divides into many categories in TV and movies: underlying plot rights, rights to remakes and sequels, rights to titles and trademarks, real-life rights, distribution, publication, music masters, and the usage of original film visuals. You can converse in one lane and create in many lanes. You can deliver in every lane. This is the reason the Prove It challenge is so important in this case. We will thus place the claims side by side and let the recording do the talking. 50 people are rolling out on one side: a Harlem cosign, assured captions, and the vigor of a green light. Dame, on the other hand, is directly answering the main query on a hot mic. Did he ever really own what is currently being sought after for expansion? And without him, how could anyone have obtained control in 2025? Details, choices, assignments, shopping agreements, and the distinction between approved and based on are where the answer lies. You are aware of the reality if you have ever attempted to clear a documentary series. Long before legal can clear a single frame, the internet can declare you the winner. This is the true tale. Executives boast when the rights holder's story is clean. When it's disorganized, the lawyers work silently in the background while everyone talks like a visionary. At that point, Dame's olive branch begins to seem calculated rather than tactful. Sit down and lead Harlem through an adult dialogue, either on or off camera. The original screenplay was written by whom? Who currently owns the rights to the remade sequel? Whether anyone has obtained life rights from the remaining figures, whether the title can be used as, and how the music and logos would be licensed. If those responses are precise, Dame wins both the paper and the perception. If they're muddy, Cap becomes more like a diagnosis and ceases to be an insult.
The thing there is I was there. I don't have to buy rights for my own story. I already told those guys' story. Now I'm telling my story, my pain in full. I don't have to buy the rights.
However, coexistence is a third possibility. It is completely feasible to create a fresh television show based on the same real-life incidents without utilizing any copyrighted film content. Both the product and the promise are different. It can succeed, but only if viewers think the original's creators had access to the characters and details that gave it its genuine feel. Thus, we return to the olive branch, moving the discussion from captions to contracts and displaying Harlem receipts that they can reproduce without shame, together with dates, signatures, and deliverables, is the quickest way to make the jokes costly if Dame is sincere about unity. The timeline should be slowed down for one last reason: repercussions. Relationships with rights holders, unions, and estates that you will eventually require can be strained by a "we own it" assertion. If you make an incorrect guess in public, a careless "they're capping" claim might become a defamation issue. The intelligent version of this conflict is gorgeous to count but dull to see. A calendar of deliverables, a spotless chain of title, and 3 mature men who realize that Harlem benefits most when no one is made to lose.
I've been paying $250,000 a year in child support. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm broke? Yeah, I'm broke because I give it all to my family. Don't you?
Let's talk about the baggage that skews every discussion. Optics of money. It became meme-worthy thanks to The Breakfast Club. Numbers taken out of context. A generation of viewers was taught to consider bankruptcy as a confession rather than a technique, and papers transformed into personality. Dame makes an effort to return the focus on accountability. The expenses of fatherhood, litigation, and restructuring are all necessary for a business to survive and thrive. If humiliation is the only criterion the chronology takes into account, then none of that counts. The trolls take advantage of that gap. Precision time humiliation is the foundation of 40's entire second career. A 40-page contract is not as effective as a 7-word caption. To win delivery, you don't need to win discovery. All you need to do is make the other guy appear unimportant. Additionally, each stray flex turns into fuel. It is obviously theatrical when Dame makes a joke about how he can beat 40 and Cam with a white lesbian rapper. However, screenshots from theaters are, like, proof. It provides the opposition an easy split screen, muddies the apology, and makes the pivot appear reactionary. A brazen soundbite on the right and a sincere peace clip on the left.
But now I say what I say, and then my son calls me and says, Cam gave him some money to do an interview on his show, and that really bothered me because Cam knows. He known Boogie since he was born. He knows our relationship, the reasons for certain things. That would have really damaged our relationship. It would have fucked up a lot.
Therefore, more discourse cannot be the solution. It must be a policy. First, keep content and family apart. No partners, no sons, and no personal hardships that are linked to public marketing. Second, use clear English while discussing the business. Which revenue streams are there? Which partners have a relationship? Who will sign the upcoming milestone? Third, create a sponsored pilot with neutral EPs, a cleared soundtrack moment that could only have been achieved through genuine connections, or something that advances the scoreboard for Harlem rather than just for egos. We put money back where we took attention, reads the community check. Another painful reality. When vulnerability is not used as a weapon, audiences praise it. Put the facts in a way that makes them impossible to cut if you wish to put an end to a rumor, a dated agreement note, a judge's order, or an audited statement. Then, put an end to the argument. When there is nothing fresh to report, trolls go hungry. The cadence of finished milestones, table reads, location locks, and a casting announcement that Harlem can support should take the role of the drip of defensive posts. That's how an algorithm can be modified. You give it results. Indeed, the opposing viewpoint will continue to chuckle. That's all right. Laughter is cheap. The cost of delivery is high. Every old clip becomes more and more like a holdover from a bygone period as the project progresses and the paper remains clean. Nobody challenges the premiere date in the end. Harlem makes judgments based on who arrives with the completed task and who persistently brings up the past. If the apology was sincere, it will eventually lead to peace, or at least a collaboration.
Point of no return. I'm at that point. Because for me, it was totally unnecessary. The way it went about, for me, it didn't have to be public. It didn't have to be all this. All I said, I hate repeating how this started. I didn't pick the phone up. All I did was not pick the phone up, and you keep going on the internet looking for internet sympathy, like he's doing now.
In Harlem, that is the code book talking. A back and forth in public is already ineffective. Cam marks the end of the argument over property ownership. There is no way back. That's not a legal expression. It's cultural. It claims that on paper, the line wasn't crossed. In theory, it was violated. A personal friendship was made public. A private limit turned into a dare in public. Apologies must do more than just lighten the tone after that. They must fix the code. Dame's olive branch goes straight after the borough. Harlem is embarrassed. Harlem's rules are more important than any man. Therefore, that's wise. No cheap circle, no family, and no tarnishing the block for the sake of views. The only way to get back on track after breaking those is to publicly uphold the code. This entails greater organization and fewer captions. A clear on-camera statement of terms, a sit-down off-camera, and a deliverable that elevates Harlem beyond the debate.
That I want him to be, that's not the message. And that bothered me. It was embarrassing in that way. Like, damn, my OG-ness, my teaching is wrong. What's wrong with this? But I'm like, I don't know why he's doing it. And then I was gonna respond, but I was like, that's what everybody wants to see. Like 50 and Steve Stout, they had popcorn.
From the older side, Dame frames the same wound. For instance, children watching, original viewers, and popcorn watchers are anticipating his entry into the meme market. The apology strikes a different chord as a result. Refusing to feed an argument is more important than losing one. Stop providing the algorithm with cheap Harlem if the intention is to avoid embarrassing Harlem. Thus, the actual politics are straightforward and harsh. If the documentation and the guiding principles are in order, the man who shuts down the circus first appears to be a leader. If not, the loudest caption wins the election, and the stillness reads like surrender.
You guys believe the internet? You guys are adults that believe what you read and hear in the newspaper, and y'all talk the most. So you guys are talking about things with no research. That's not fair. See, the problem is, and this is, actually, I'm going to keep it on you.
So my question, could you cut me off? Question?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So my question is...
You cut him off.
I said...
Greetings from the internet court, where trust is paramount and evidence is not required. Until attorneys declare otherwise, you are considered to be one if you sound like a green light. Zero wins so many rounds without displaying the signature because of this. He markets inevitable outcomes. This is how an apology is turned into a joke. The grown man's move reads like a white flag of the crowd accepts the rumor. Being slower than a caption and faster than a rumor is the only way to counteract it. Put information in formats that are difficult to clip. Dated milestones, transaction memos, clean title chains, and then shut down until the subsequent milestone. When there is nothing left to eat but progress, memes die. They will, however, feast for a week if you give them a brag.
A funny joke to guys that make jokes all day.
I want to ask you about a comment you made in our last interview about imaginary player. You made a comment about how Jay, he was taking shots at Mase, but you also said that he was taking some shots at some other rappers. Do you recall the other rappers he was taking shots at?
It was like whoever was out at that time, it was everybody. Everybody was putting, not fake diamonds, but they were putting, Rolex didn't make them, because that's what Jacob was doing. Because only dudes know how much watches really cost, and all the billionaires I know, they wear these. And I need mine because I got my blood sugar on there.
The mechanisms are even known to Dame. While joking, he actually calls out the joke machine. That is the trap set by the internet court. You attempt to guide the story and unintentionally contribute to it. A better clapback is not the solution. Deliverables, timelines, bargains, and dull excellence are starving the beast. As we move closer to the end, here is the blueprint, not posture, but policy. No family names, no repetition of rumors, no fresh meme ammunition, not vibes, but proof. Publicize the hundreds assertion if it is true. If Dame's cap call is correct, proceed through the grid with Harlem. What has been cleared? Why and what isn't? Not posts, but products. Make a statement that cannot be contested. The calendar showed a table. Locked clearances. An EP cosign that is neutral and has significance for the borough. Delivery is the sole appeal when the internet is the judge. The old laugh track sounds like a replay with each milestone. That is the obstacle. Personal policy cannot be overridden by a contract. Legal lanes are not Cam's boundaries. It concerns the way a buddy treated another friend in public. Before any rollout, the only bandage is if that is the wound's private repair. No cameras, no captions, just a room, an apology, and a choice. Men read a woman's strength if she wants peace, but memes don't. That's 3 moves in succession. First, values. A public pledge to avoid family-related stuff, for a period. Paper number 2. Clarity regarding paid in full lanes as documented by the person who possesses each right. Third, the product, a historical landmark that the city can retrace. The mature man pivot is that. Take the battle to signature lines instead of Instagram. Everyone can preserve face if the responses are clear. Home maintains his pace. Cam doesn't share his code. Furthermore, Darun demonstrates that the olive branch wasn't a white flag, it was a process. The only question that remains is whether the other two want to win more than a chuckle if that is where he ends up. Business over banter. Premiere dates don't change because of last fate. Darun urged Harlan to judge him based on his next actions, rather than what was cut last, putting the olive branch on video. Contracts cannot cross the line that Cam drew. 100 grinned and sold momentum like it had already been written. We've already seen the film. Algorithm versus apology. Delivery is the only twist that changes how it ends. The laugh track dies on its own if you hear about this again, and it's because a table read is planned and a clearance grid is locked. Otherwise, the timeline triumphs once more. This is the wager that we are placing. 3 empire-building men are capable of creating something else. Quiet. Harlem will accept the unity talk the day it can circle a date when it comes time to work. We're forced to watch reruns till then.